So you're hanging out in New York City.
Yeah, it's not quite, what it used to be right now. I mean, it's still lovely New York, but, it's weird to see empty streets
Yeah.
and we're kind of, the band and crew, we're just kind of like pretty much either here at the hotel or going to the studio. There's no going out or anything, trying to play it safe. And,
Right.
in order to have the show, they have um, pretty spectacular protocol to keep everybody safe. So.
And so how? So you're in New York. You're taping for SNL, or you're practicing, I guess, right? You're
Yep.
yeah. Is that what you're basically just kind of running through the performance. Are you doing anything else on the show? Are you doing any skits or bits or?
Not yet. I came with a bee costume and a samurai sword to see if I could insert myself into some old classic jokes, but
Yeah.
I haven't got to work with the writers or anything now. So we're just happy to be performing, honestly. So
Yeah, that'll be exciting for you. So the new song "Redemption" is just unbelievable. My own personal experience when the first time I heard it was attached to the trailer for Palmer, and I just thought it was so well written, and the song was structured so well and so moving. And I think in the context of the film, it just really struck a chord with me.
I don't know.
So amazing! Congrats to you. And I'm really curious on how that whole thing came about. It-
It seemed sort of random to me. I think at one point they were where redemption is in the film. They were using another song of mine as a placeholder, and then just kind of approached me to see if I would want to make an original composition. So, yeah, I love that kind of stuff and that opportunity. And yeah, writing that way is always interesting. I feel like it kind of puts me outside of myself. So.
I was going to say how much of the song. So when you went to write, had you seen the film or heard enough about it to know what the character needed in terms of the story?
Yeah, it was kind of a two-phase process. I was, in the midst, like the initial idea came from just a conversation with my manager, Chris, and then the second, the rest of it kind of also came from some encouragement and conversation with Justin Timberlake. So,
And you mentioned that it's good to sort of step out of yourself when you're writing like that. Is that the case? Like you're crafting this song and it's not coming from your own personal experience, right? It's coming from the character's experiences.
I try to, I certainly try to write about what I saw in the character, but I also, certainly relate to the character in a lot of ways, and just kind of from where I came from and where I grew up and where I grew up rather. Yeah, so I certainly had some insert some of myself into the character and try to, feel like what that situation is like, I guess. So.
Yeah. Started playing drums at 7. I had a son that also did the same thing. I found it to be the hardest part of parenting to encourage your kid to play drums
It's
because
better than clarinet.
I just felt like when Max played drums, we all played drums. Like it was not a solo thing for him. And I'm guessing it
Yeah.
was similar in your own house.
I had them set up in the shed for a long time, and in the basement. But yeah, I'm sure.
Just
I would just be down there with a little, yeah, a little cassette player with headphones on, playing around, playing the Led Zeppelin 4. So,
yeah. So it sounds like, early in life you knew music was what you wanted to do. Was there ever a doubt that that wouldn't work out?
I mean, this whole last year was a doubt that it wasn't going to work out. So, yeah. We
Yeah.
totally got completely derailed, and it certainly made me question where I was at and what I was doing. And
Yeah.
but as far as growing up, I think I loved playing music with my parents, and then eventually Joseph Pope and I became friends, and making music was certainly a part of our everyday life. And then I guess at some point, when you get into your late 20s or your late 30s, you realize that you don't have a lot of other skills. So.
What was the backup plan?
I mean, I worked at a trucking company for 10 years,
Okay.
lumping freight, and I was also a yard hostler, so driving trucks and mostly backing them up.
Yeah.
So, which came in great skills to have when you're driving a trailer and a van around to play shows. Um, but then I was also a gardener, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So, and that's still a backup plan if this all fails, and just I'll be trimming somebody's hedges in Hawaii. So, you know,
Yeah. Nothing wrong with getting your hands dirty. It's a good life to lead. So you mentioned, this year being sort of tough. I had interviewed or talked to Sarah Jarosz last week, and she said the same thing. She was talking about how difficult it was, and it's been for musicians.
yeah.
Uh, so talk a little bit about that. I mean, you're not able to tour. And then I also would think that really impacts your creative process. I don't know if it's good or bad, right? Is it good because you can focus on it, or is it bad because you're not having as many external experiences?
Um, well, luckily there's an internal struggle at all times going on in me, so I can always write about that.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know, it felt like we got completely derailed. You know, we had put the 13th or the 14th, which will be the day after the Saturday, would be the year anniversary of "And It's Still All Right's release.
Mm,
And you know, it felt a little risky, but it felt like the right thing to do creatively and emotionally to put out a record that wasn't the Night Sweats
yeah.
for me. Um, and then, of course, that tour only had 10 shows, and then we were forced to leave actually here March 13th
Wow.
last year. And so, yeah, I didn't, for a moment there in the beginning of, I guess, the Great Break or whatever we're calling the pandemic. I just kind of took a minute to really just do projects around the house and clean up the property, and
Yeah.
um, was kind of, I guess part of performing those shows is being able to work through some of the emotions that, um, as the character you are when you perform, and kind of working through some of those songs in that manner.
Sure.
But yeah, so I didn't really have the opportunity to do that, and so it was just kind of nice to take a break from it for a moment. So.
What's the plan for the future? I know we're not officially opened up yet, but it feels like that's imminent. What's next for you?
Well, we're still, hoping to tour sometime later this year, but really just waiting to see how this, you know, how we continue, how the new administration handles this, and whether we can have some recovery. And we haven't been playing even socially distanced shows very frequently. I feel like people were not very good at distancing themselves, even when restricted. So, the best we can do is to not create the opportunity for people to get each other sick. So, but yeah, hopefully later this year things will kind of mellow out, and hopefully the vaccine will roll out, um, a little more evenly, and yeah, we'll be back out on the road. And been working on a new Night Sweats record, so
Nice.
excited to bring those new songs to everybody as well.
Well, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us on that station. Good luck with SNL this weekend. And as always, great chatting with you. Appreciate it.
The same, man. Have a great day. Appreciate your time.